Well, good morning. Surprise, surprise. We're at the beach and the sun is about to come up. But today's video, I'm going to do things a little bit different. Out of the comments, one of my faithful viewers, and I don't know whether I should name her or not, so I'm not going to, just in case. I don't want to offend anyone by saying their name on the internet without their permission. But anyway, she says, would you be willing in time, and this was a couple of months ago that she put this in here, would you be willing in time to do a video explaining the difference between taking action and trying not to take control? I would value your perspective. As always, I enjoy you. Thank you. Okay, let's give that one a try. The difference between taking action and trying not to take control. You know, when I hear a question like that, it makes me think somebody's going through a particular thing. And so, you know, I may not hit on that exact thing that you're going through, but I'm going to try to share my experience, strength, and hope with the difference between taking action and trying not to take control. You know, the first thought I have is, if I'm trying not to take control, then I'm putting the control into someone else's hands. If I'm stepping out of the control seat, then I'm putting someone else in. And hopefully we know who that is. So let's start with that. So I'm trying to imagine different scenarios where I want to take action, but I'm trying not to take control. I can relate that to a specific scenario. In my early recovery, I was elected as the group chairman. At the time, I was suffering from ego issues way more than I am today. And so you give me a title like group chairperson? Woo! Okay, guess who's taking control? That was me. I was there to take action, but it wasn't the action of group conscience. It wasn't the action that God wanted. It wasn't what God's will was. It was what Earl's will was. You know, immediately I started working on, okay, I'm not wild about the location of where we meet for these meetings. It's time for us to move. And let's put that on the table for voting. Everybody voted it down, and I was like, wait a minute, I thought I was in charge. There's one, area where my ego gets in there and tells me that I know best what should be done, what kind of action needs to be taken. That's my ego talking. That is not from being educated from the past. You know, the past has taught me that my ideas, they really aren't that great. Through time, in recovery, I have learned to not try to get God to conform to my will, but I try my best to conform to what God's will is. And, one of the things that we struggle with is, well, how do you know what God's will is? And I get it, One of the things that I've learned about the steps is that they all require us to humble ourselves. They're humbling. And when I'm humbled, it's so much easier to just turn it over to God and say, God, this is in your hands, Have you heard of the next right thing? That's always a positive action. The next right thing. That's an action that almost always is called for. And it's usually not a big action. It's just the next right thing. You know, sometimes it's not taking an action is the best action we can take. Like, don't say anything, don't do anything. Allow the chips to fall where they may. I deal with this one myself. I still struggle with the ego. My ego is not my amigo. My ego gets in there and tells me that I've got this, and that the action that I'm taking is going to bring about the results that are best for everyone concerned. You believe that? Me neither. But I do at the time, I believe it. My philosophy is this, is that if I don't know what God's will is, then I do the next right thing, or I don't do anything at all. Taking action based upon God's will, and after a lot of prayer, meditation, speaking with spiritual advisors, backing up what I think I've heard God say to me, and then gently take the action. One thing I've realized about God's will is it never takes a lot of work to make it happen. God's will happens very smoothly without a whole bunch of my participation. Yeah, so God's will doesn't require a lot of action on my part. It does require some, but not always. Sometimes God's will is what happens without my participation. I think that God's will is the most important thing, not my will. My will is what gets me in trouble. My will gets me in trouble every single time. So give it to God. So as far as trying not to take control, I think the best way to not do something is to do something. And that do something is give it to God. Instead of trying not to take control, I give control to God. I'm not in control. Now, you know, I am in control of my action, but I'm not in control of the outcome. That's in God's hands. And as long as my actions are in keeping with what God's will is, then there's not going to be any real trouble. Especially if those actions that I take go very smoothly. It's not something I have to work real hard for, because that is definitely something I've learned about God's will. It isn't difficult. It's very simple, very easy. It happens without a whole lot of effort. My plan always resulted in me working really hard to make it happen, man. And God's plan isn't like that. It just goes very, very smoothly without a whole lot of participation on my part. And so, you know, I don't know if I have missed the mark here on what it was that you were looking for in your request to talk about this, but it's a good topic. And I could continue on, especially thinking of different scenarios where this applies to my life, different scenarios where it could apply to someone else's life here. It's a good topic though, you know? Rather than trying not to control something, the best thing I can do is give up control to the God of my understanding. And when I do that, things just go so much smoother. Earl doesn't get in trouble. He doesn't go to jail. You know, he doesn't get drunk. When I'm in keeping with what God's will is for me, life is good. Life is very good. I'm having a fantastic morning out here. It's chilly, but it's beautiful. It's been a really, really nice morning. And I want to thank my viewer for coming up with this topic. And, anytime you guys want to request something like that, that's fantastic. I love to deliver what you're asking for. And hopefully I haven't missed the mark today with the things that I shared. But I really and truly believe that there's no need to try not to control when you have given it away. Give that control away. Give it to God. And then take the action that you believe is truly God's will. Keeping in mind that God's will is never difficult. It's always the easier, softer way. So you guys have a fantastic day, and keep me posted, y'all. If you think of something you want me to talk about, please feel free. Put it in the comments. It's always welcome to hear from you guys. So you guys have a great day, and I'll see you on the next video. Bye-bye.